Hello, everyone. No one is watching. We just jumped right into it. Having issues with Restream here, which is what I use to do the live streams, and we're still waiting on our guests here. In any event, welcome to the latest episode of Signals from Mars. There's going to be 2 episodes dropping today. This one with Sonia from Crypta and Cobra Spell. And then there's going to be a show later on today with Chris and Matt from the Classic Metal Show Podcast Network. So the CMSPN. And well, while we wait, why don't we go over some music news? I've been told that I don't talk about music enough. So anyway, I see that Sonia is now joining us. How are you? I can't hear your mic. Yes. Still nothing.
Might work right
now. Perfect.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Welcome, Sonia. We appreciate you having you on. I appreciate you having you on the show. You are there with your. That's not a warrior, though. That's a Kelly.
Ooh, yeah, it's not a warrior. I have an explanation for that.
What is that?
It's not my guitar.
There you go.
It's my boyfriend's guitar. Even though I'm planning to exchange the Floyd Rose system of my E standard guitar, and I was giving a lesson before this.
Okay.
So I needed a fill-in standard guitar, so I have that one to fill in the E standard task.
Right. Gotcha. It's funny because a lot of people associate the Kelly with Marty Friedman, for example.
Yeah, that's right. And now many guitarists actually use that guitar this last years.
Right. The funny thing is, though, that guitar was made for someone from the 80s, or from an LA band from the 80s.
Right? I didn't know that. For which band was this made?
The Kelly, let me see. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't think it was Hurricane or a band similar to that. It's much like the King V that a lot of people play. Was originally made for Robin Crosby from Rat.
Right, the nice red one that he used to have. That was awesome guitar. Yeah.
Right. So, like, a lot of people use that because of Dave Mustaine, or who else has used that? I believe Kerry King used it at one point, but it's a similar deal. I brought that up to. There's a group here in Spain called Angelus Apatrida. Angelus Apatrida. That
thrash metal. I know that band.
Yeah, the one guitarist who I used to take lessons from plays a King V, and I used to mention that to him all the time. I said, "How come you're in a thrash band and you're using a guitar that was built for someone from an '80s quote unquote glam metal band?" So he would always ignore my question.
These designs are timeless. They don't really. If you look at it, you don't get tired of it, or it doesn't look too old school or anything. I mean, there's nothing bad with old school, but it still looks like badass, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's interesting to me. I follow you on Patreon, obviously. That's how we connected. For all this time, I thought that the Eye of Horus that you have on your hand was a tattoo. Now, I just learned a few days ago that you paint that on your hand.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people ask me why I don't get a tattoo of this, and what is the reason behind painting it before every single show.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual reason why I put it on my hands, it's literally because it's a sign of protection. The Horus Eye is a sign of protection. And a long time ago, when I was playing bass guitar in a band named Ecocide, I very randomly thought about doing it on my hands because it's similar to the symbolism of the hand of Fatima, which is a hand with an eye on top of it. And it's also the meaning of protection. And I remember my mother, when I was little, giving me something from my neck with the hand of Fatima, and it always stayed in my hands, in my head somehow. And I thought, okay, that would be a pretty cool thing to do, and it can be kind of my thing. And that's when I started doing it every concert, such as a before concert ritual. And it kind of became something that I can't play with. So it's before every show, I'm always putting that maybe 5 minutes before, maybe 10 minutes before. It's part of
Right.
my pre-show ritual, and it gives me this feeling of protection, like it's part of me.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of how it went. And the reason why I don't do it in videos, for example, in YouTube, it's because it's not really a performance that I do on stage. It's not the same. So
Right.
yeah, there's a little bit of it's like Slash wearing his hat. I mean, I'm not totally not to be compared with Slash because he's an amazing guitarist, but it's kind of the same reason. Sometimes he's without his hat playing the guitar, and on stage he's always wearing that hat usually. So
Gotcha. What got you interested in? Because obviously the Eye of Horus, the name that you use, Anubis as well. You also wear an Egyptian ankh sometimes. What got you into all of the different Egyptian things?
yeah, so there is some kind of mysticism about the mythology about Egypt,
Right.
and sometimes a bit dark. Like the story of Anubis. He's the god of mummification and death and afterlife, and it always seemed kind of interesting to me. And my mother has also a very big passion for this. She studied a little bit about it when she was young, and she told me a lot about it and gave me many books, and it always was very interesting to look in it. And when I was little, all I got me interested were the images, like, oh, this looks so cool. And I always wished, oh, god damn it, I wished to go to Egypt to actually see it with my own eyes. So
Right.
it always captivated me a little bit. And also I got more into the stories of the Book of the Dead and all those spells that there are. And I just thought, okay, actually that could be a nice name to put on my artist name, because I was kind of not liking my second name that much as an artist name, because it's hard to spell and it doesn't really fit. It's not very cool in my opinion, even though I have nothing against my second name. But yeah, Sonia Anubis sounds a bit better. So it was very a spontaneous choice. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. You just mentioned Slash a second ago. You did a cover of Mr. Brownstone. I guess it was last week or maybe even a few days ago.
Last week, indeed. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you're playing Slash's stuff there. For you as a guitarist, Guns N' Roses have had a lot of different guitarists over the years. Obviously, Slash is the most identifiable, but they've had guitarists like Bumblefoot, and they've had Buckethead in the band as well.
Yeah, and they had the other guitarist also, who actually was overshadowed so much by Slash, even though he wrote most of the songs in Guns N' Roses.
You're saying Izzy Stradlin?
Yeah, right on.
Okay. Yeah. My question to you is this: as a technical player, which of those three guitarists do you see as hardest to try to play their parts?
Ooh, Yngwie Malmsteen, certainly on number one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going completely on a different subject. I was like in guitarists in general, but in Guns N' Roses, I would say that Bumblefoot is a very technical guitar player, and he can play extremely well. I think Slash is a bit easier to replicate since he plays a lot of pentatonic stuff. More blues pentatonic stuff. And then I would say Izzy Stradlin, I guess. Okay. Or do you mean in lead guitar players, like in
general as a guitarist? Obviously you're much more fluent than I am. Just from your opinion, which do you think?
Yeah, and they also had Buckethead, indeed. Buckethead. Yeah. He's also technical, but they're three totally, completely different guitar players from each other. What I find hard about playing Slash stuff, of course, it's blues pentatonics, more like accessible guitar playing, even though it's hard to replicate his sound, his way of phrasing. And Buckethead is more precise guitar player, in my opinion, even though it's also very hard to replicate. It's about the style of every guitarist. And I don't think I have played enough to really know which one is harder to
Right.
really
Okay.
replicate. I believe they actually are very respectable musicians,
Hmm.
but Slash is just even if his music is not is his playing is not as difficult, it's definitely more memorable for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. What turned you on to a lot of 80s hard rock? Because obviously you did this Guns N' Roses cover, you've done Rat stuff before that I've seen on social media, Motley Crue, Poison. What turned you on to all this?
Honestly, what got me in music in general before I started playing an instrument was hard rock. So when the first time that I heard about Kiss,
Hmm.
I was always looking a lot about it on YouTube and trying to find a lot of concerts. And then I realized that Kiss was not the only band that existed. So I thought, oh, there is also Wasp and there is Alice Cooper. Interesting. This seems like a whole world by itself. So
Hmm.
it really started with all for me with all these hard rock bands and glam and shock rock, and that's where my passion for music started and what actually inspired me. And the reason why I'm playing it more these recent months is certainly because it brings back those memories of getting into it, and it's always good. It's always
Right.
makes me feel very happy. There's something about hard rock that really empowering and energetic to listen to, and the whole aesthetic of the 80s. Everything is so cool in my opinion, and I just love playing the music because it makes me feel like I'm stepping in a time machine and reliving what these musicians do when they're playing it. And it makes me learn also a lot about how a musician plays the music and how different they are from other guitarists, such as when I'm playing a Rat riff.
Hmm.
It's interesting because the riffs are played so in a special way. They have very open chords,
Hmm.
while other musicians, such as in Dokken, it's a lot different. Where George Lynch has a lot of smaller power chords and combinations. It's very interesting to learn about other guitarists. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of like newer players or even players that are seen as being, quote unquote, truer metal or whatever. There's the one example that always comes to mind is there's a song off of one of Ishan's latest records, which is called Until I Too Dissolve or something like that. And the beginning of the riff or the beginning of the song has this big giant riff that sounds a lot like it could have been Dokken or Rat or something like that.
Yeah, I
And
think you get whenever you're playing a lot of these musician songs, you feel like these bands already have some kind of formula and they're playing, and you
right.
you can learn a lot from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool because a lot of those players I think were maybe nowadays aren't maybe seen as being as important, but all those players back then had to be good. They
Right
had to
on.
all
Yeah.
solo, and I think a lot of people get hung up on the image more than the actual musicianship that went into those songs.
Yeah, and actually, it's also easier to back then. You can just do a retake every single time when you were recording an album, for example, or make a cover and put it on YouTube. It wasn't as easy as it was back then, where you really had to make a good take to have it on the tape. And yeah, right now we have things such as Pro Tools and all these digital workstations on the internet in which you can just modify your playing that it sounds like you played extremely tight, but maybe when you play it live it gets a lot harder to play. These are
Right.
things that make it a bit, I think, easier for guitarists to be able to play something completely perfect, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And it
Gotcha.
loses its originality sometimes, of course.
Right. Why do you think that a lot of people don't want to give credit to some of these bands? You had people like Dimebag who admitted to loving all types of music, but now, for example, Mark Morton of Lamb of God released a solo album, and there's a song that sounds, I've always said it, it's the best Dokken song that was never recorded by Dokken. It's like 2 years old. And all the websites would say, well, this is a blues rock song, or it's this, or it's that. And I remember posting on my website with the review of the album. I said, I love the album, but I have a hard time when people don't want to look back at that time period and give it credit.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are ashamed to show their love for glam
Hmm.
rock and metal. I really felt that because myself as a musician playing in a band that's is 80s sleaze hard rock, and then playing in a death metal band with
Hmm.
black influence, completely two different bands.
Right.
Coming from the background where I have like a lot of different genres that I played as musician, it's always, are you either a rocker or are you either a metalhead? What are you, Sonia? What are you? And it's like, can I just enjoy both? Or
Yeah.
what I see a lot on my YouTube videos, a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're a poser for playing this kind of music." And I say, "Why am I a poser? I'm just enjoying the music. What's
Right.
wrong with it? It's kind of annoying. I think people feel like a certain shame about liking music that is catchy or is also very aesthetically, how do you say it? There's a lot going on with the looks.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it happens. I'm not really ashamed for my music taste. I like having a broad taste in metal, and I'm never gonna say, "Oh, that genre sucks," because it's really an opinion,
Hmm.
and you
Well,
cannot diminish opinions.
yeah, absolutely. And from what you're saying, as a player, there's a lot you can learn from the different subgenres in metal because
Exactly. Yeah.
what was played then has nothing to do with say chords that are used in black metal, which are closer to jazz chords sometimes than
Hmm.
than a death metal player, to just something that's straight up like like an Iron Maiden or a Judas Priest. I mean, they're all different. Doesn't mean I always say to people, you don't eat the same food every night. You
Yeah,
always
and there is
vary.
the thing that I've implemented from the knowledge that I have with, more hard rock music. There's very often a formula, certainly in those arena rock oriented bands, like Danger Danger and this kind of bands, they have like very catchy formulas in their songs because of the structure of the songs. And I think, okay, maybe I can try to implement that on one of the Crypta songs. Of course, the album didn't come out yet, but
Mhm.
I kind of thought about that too when writing Crypta songs, about, okay, maybe we have to implement the structure of a catchy rock song that could be something for a death metal song, because then it can become catchier. And this is the case for From the Ashes, the song that we just released, where
Mhm.
I try to implement a more, we try to think about it as any pop or rock song. I know it
Mhm.
sounds crazy because it's a death metal song, but it all comes to verse, chorus, pre-chorus, all these kind of things
Yeah.
come back again. And yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because your former band released two songs recently, and it was funny because we've discussed the tracks on Patreon with my patrons. And one of the first things that I said, the song is missing your touch, because you could tell when you were in the band, there were certain aspects that were brought forward that had different flavors, and it wasn't all the same flavor, I guess is
Which
what I'm
which
trying.
band do you mean? Burning Witches?
Burning Witches, yeah. You listen to something like damn it, now I don't remember the title track off of the last album that you played on. Dance
Dance
with
with
the
the
Devil.
Devil.
Yeah. Like that is something that definitely has the type of stuff that you're talking about.
Hmm.
Whereas the two new songs that they've released so far is missing a lot of those aspects that maybe were in the band when you were in the band.
Yeah, I don't know. As in the band, I didn't have much in the previous band that I was in, Burning Witches. I didn't have much influence when it comes to the song structure
Mm-hmm.
and in the writing of the music. I was more of a lead guitarist, so I would add a lot of like melodies and stuff in it,
Right.
and solos and harmonies in the music more than I would like write the main riffs of the music, which was very disappointing to me because I always wanted to have creative output in a band. That's why I started my own two bands where I can actually
Right.
have full input.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was kind of
Okay.
limited there. Yeah.
But with what you're saying, those harmonies, those different things with the leads are completely missing. If you have two people playing the same thing all the time, why have two guitars when if
I think so too. Yeah, it's one thing that I said it a lot of times, but one of the things that most fascinates me for every single genre that exists is melody.
Mm-hmm.
Melody is what catches the ear, what makes you remember
Right.
a song. At least for me.
Right.
Some people, like drummers, probably remember it by the rhythm, but I'm more melody oriented. So when I hear a melody, I can directly store it in my head, and it's very important to have a singable and memorable line in a song, because otherwise, that's what makes, in my opinion, a song enjoyable. And yeah, the more melody, the better. Actually,
Right.
sometimes, of course. Yeah.
I was just insulted by Sonia Anubis because as a drummer, I can't remember melody for, parts of songs that stick into my mind.
Ooh. No, I don't. I'm not meaning that drummers are not able
No,
to
no,
do
no.
it, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. I posted a review on the new Gojira album today, and that was one of the things that I was trying to get across, which with their evolution within a band,
Yeah.
is that they've added incorporating melodies and different things that even without you realizing that it's a melody, they've added certain ingredients to their songs to make them catchy and make
Yeah, and
them
that's so
yeah.
important. That's so
Yeah.
important to try to experience with this stuff and learn from other artists what they're doing and try to
Mhm.
find your own way to make it your own. This is so important. And I of course you can make catchy also with rhythm.
Mhm.
Absolutely, it's something I have to try to do myself more, because I'm so melody oriented that I sometimes forget how important rhythm is in music. If you
Mhm.
think about, I don't know if you know Decapitated.
No.
Well, they have this song "Spheres of Madness," and it
Okay.
starts with a you already hear it. I'm just straight
Mhm.
up saying the rhythm, because the rhythm is so catchy that the song became just so good because of the actual rhythm, and
Right.
that's amazing. That's something I look up to, and I should try to find more about that. To find out more about that.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, to your point, you're saying that you're learning from all different types of
Right.
metal.
Yeah.
So just adding almost another weapon to your arsenal to what you can
Exactly. I
articulate.
mean, life is an ongoing um, learning process.
Right. Absolutely. Um, let's talk about how you got into Crypta. Obviously, the three of them are all based in Brazil, correct?
That's right.
So what was that process like? Because you're the one person off to the side on the other side of the world. Um,
I always am. Yeah, but so the way that I got to meet Fernanda and Luana was when we played a show together in 2018. We shared a lineup with Nervosa and Burning Witches back when we were in those bands playing,
mhm.
and yeah, the way to get we got to meet was, that was kind of the situation backstage, and they saw me play. That's how they knew that I was a guitarist too.
Mhm.
And they had the idea of starting a side project in the style of death metal. And apparently they were impressed after seeing me perform, which is very, very, I'm honored, because I was always looking up to Nervosa, and secretly I always thought, why don't they need a second guitarist? I would love to do this.
Right.
So getting asked by them to start a side project was like, hell yeah. And it's death metal. It's something that I've loved a lot, because I've been in many death metal bands as a bass player before, and doing this as a guitarist would be awesome.
Mhm.
And that's how it went. We started slow paced, writing some music, finding a name for the band, and we did this all low key, actually, without talking about it publicly,
Mhm.
because we wanted to really take the time to do this slowly, without stress, and in our own free time, while we're having our own bands as priority.
Right.
And yes, things happen as they happen. So they left Nervosa for their reasons, and I left Burning Witches for my own reasons that were totally unrelated to Crypta, since Crypta
Mhm.
already existed a year after
Wow.
I left my band. So that's kind of how things went, very naturally. And a little bit before the announcement of the band, we thought that it would be very cool to have a second guitarist in the band, certainly because the songs feature a lot of harmonizations and um, parts that really have to be done by two guitarists, otherwise it would sound a little bit,
Right.
not full enough on live, and also someone that can share lead duties.
Right.
as that would be pretty cool, if you have one solo and then the second solo playing. And Taina is an extremely talented girl,
Mhm.
and yes, she's part of the lineup. And we thought, okay, Crypta's complete, and then we said, okay, it's a nice time to announce the band.
Yeah, and her playing style is completely different to your playing style, which is kind of cool because with the video that you guys have released already, obviously you solo in one part and then she solos towards the end of the song, if I'm not mistaken. And
Right.
your two soloing styles are completely different, which again, why have, I don't understand why a lot of bands have two guitars and they both play the same style. The styles are completely different, so that makes it
Right.
even better.
Yeah, and she's better at techniques that I'm not that good at, and then I can do my own techniques. And it's nice that we complement each other in the things. And it's nice to have some different sounds. And yeah, I think it's a cool combination, and we both understand each other very well on what we want. So if I have a certain melody, she can directly pick up, okay, so you have this kind of idea with this. And it's nice to talk with someone who also understands what I mean musical wise. And she's also someone that learns by ear, and
Okay.
this is something that is very, very awesome to me, because I'm not the kind of person that likes to tab out stuff
Oh,
or put notes. It's nice when someone catches up directly, and it feels very good.
when you guys wrote the album, how was it done? Did you were obviously in Holland and they were in Brazil, but how much did you get involved in the actual songwriting?
I was fully involved in the songwriting, actually. The album was mainly written by Fernanda, myself, and Luana,
Okay.
since Taina was not in the band yet from the beginning.
Okay.
So we did a lot of the work, like before the announcement of the band. And yeah, we wrote a lot of demos. We do it with a Google Drive where we share all of our ideas. Myself, I just recorded here at home. I was kind of responsible of creating the demos, since I have my recording gear here and I can translate everything. Fernanda and Luana always had the so-called mouth riffs, which are voice recorded. You put your phone and they record like their voice, and I have to translate that in a death metal riff, which is very fun to do because you get very different sounding ideas, and sometimes it's not exactly what they meant, and then you have to change it. But yeah, it was very democratic songwriting together, and we all have been involved. Even though Taina, since she came a little bit later in the band, she got to write the bonus track, I believe. And yeah, but she got to do her own solos though. She got to play 50% of the solos that are in the album. We split everything equally.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So exactly what you were looking for based on what you were saying you had go on with Burning Witches.
Yeah, exactly. So I finally have like involvement in the songwriting. For me is so how to say it, meaningful to me, because I can finally actually put on my creativity. And the nice thing about being in Crypta is I've been there from the beginning, so it feels like it's really part of me this time. What I've been in before, I've always been the member that joins when the band already exists.
Right.
And this is something when the concept is already set, when there is already roles in the band, and you just jump in and you kind of there like, oh, you have to just do the rest, the rest work. And it's nice to be there from the beginning, and yeah, get an equal voice.
Gotcha. Yeah. What was
and
it like?
The songs feel more personal to me because they have part of me in there. So
yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, anytime that you've joined something after, obviously, if a song is already written, there's very little you can do.
Yeah, and of course I can have my opinion, but
yeah,
someone that is there for 3 years and you're being there for 1 year, it feels like you don't have much power to say what you think. It's like that most of the times. Yeah.
Gotcha. What was it like jamming with them for the first time?
Oh, it was awesome. It was really awesome. I enjoyed it a lot. Certainly because it has been a long time that I haven't played together with musicians
Right.
because of the COVID situation. It was already almost a year ago, back in January, when we were together.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt very, very good to actually hear the songs that we written together in distance, to
Mm-hmm.
hear them being played, and they're such talented girls, and I'm totally surprised how how they play, because of course I've seen Luana play on stage, I've seen Fernanda play, and it was always very impressive, but
Right.
being with them in a rehearsal room playing our own songs just feels magical.
Mm-hmm.
And also being at the first times that we did it, and I was very happy to play with them. It's very cool.
Any comments on wearing a Vinnie Vincent T-shirt to those jams?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I whatever genre that I'm playing, I will always support the bands that I love, no
Yeah.
matter if I'm playing a death metal rehearsal. I don't care. I just want to wear the shirts that I enjoy.
Was there anything going into the album that you absolutely wanted to do that you hadn't been able to do in the past?
Place the solos where I want. There's a lot. There's a lot. I had a lot of creative freedom, so I don't know what I could specifically say, because it all was so natural that it was not like yes or no. It was just yes, do it. And of course, there was a lot of advice from the other rest of the band. If something doesn't sound exactly how you envision, then of course we're gonna change it. And but most of it was so easy, and yeah, it just felt natural. So there's not pretty much anything that I think that I really had to make a choice in or something. Just felt like I could just do it, and that's it. I could even implement some of my synthesizer skills. I like to play some synthesizer, and we needed an intro for from the ash. Actually, the outro from the ashes, the intro from the whole album. So I got to actually do something with synthesizers, which excited me also. So this is maybe a thing that I got to do.
Oh, that's awesome. What gear did you use to record the album?
So I for the guitars, I can say about the guitars. For the drums and stuff, I'm not really
No,
experiencing that stuff.
For what you played.
So we decided that for the rhythm guitars, one of us would record everything. In this case, I recorded all the rhythm parts of the album, and all the rhythm parts are recorded with the Jackson Warrior that I play always, the green one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually hanging there. And it has EMG pickups, 81 and 85. It has a Floyd Rose original. And yeah, it plays very comfortably. I decided to play with that guitar because it's the one that was set up on C sharp, and the sound of it is just good. It's a very reliable guitar. It's the guitar that I've had the longest Jackson Warrior that I own. So somehow I feel like a trust relationship with that guitar, that I know it's gonna do right. So yeah, all the rhythms are recorded with that guitar. The amplifier that we used for the rhythm recordings is a PV6505 Plus,
Okay.
together with a Marshall vintage cabinet.
Okay.
And certainly that combination, because the PV6150 6505, sorry, 6505, yeah, 6505 Plus has a very nice tightness in it. Just awesome in combination with a Marshall vintage, which is a very old school cabinet, but it gives it like that bite that it's so cool. We tried many combinations, but we thought that one was just like the right combination. And the rhythms are tracked 4 times, so we have 4 different tracks. And yeah, the solos, we decided to do that like just the way that it used to has to be. You know, I do my own solos, and Taina does her own, with the same amplifier, and then just with some reverb and delay. Rhythms are completely without any effects. It's just straight up from the amplifier.
So you're reamping what you're playing, or you're recording straight out, of the amp?
We recorded straight up with the amplifier, actually, with a mic. We mic'd the cabinet in a whole room. You know, you get like this little room where you put the setup, and you capture the room sound and everything. So real recording.
Okay. So I'm mistaken. I thought you had said before that you had recorded everything from there in Holland, and then that was added to the album. Not that you actually went to Brazil to record the album.
No, I really went to Brazil to record the album. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
what I've done in bands before, for Burning Witches and stuff. Most of the stuff, certainly in Dance with the Devil, all the solos were recorded from here with my own setup. Then they reamped it there. So
gotcha.
in previous bands, I have done it in this way. But for Crypta, I really wanted to do it in a studio and do it right. Get the time to really do it, because I get finally the chance to do it.
Right. I got you.
And I really wanted to take the chance. And rhythm guitar is a lot trickier to do on your own at home, because you really have to be sure that you're being tight there. And it's nice to have a producer around to listen as a second ear. And doing it at home, you don't have that second ear. So that was nice to have. Yeah.
Okay. From when to when did you record the album?
1 to 1?
When? What?
Yeah. So we started recording a little bit, actually in 1 January, I think, something like that, because I was arriving at the 7th of January and the drummer was already recording.
Okay.
So I started a week later when I arrived, maybe 3 days later, something like that. I recorded my guitar parts. I mean, all the rhythms are done in like 5 days, 7 days. Very, very fast, actually. Way too little time. I hope next time we will have more time. I had to play straight up like a lot. And the lead guitars have been done in 2 days for both of us. Yeah, that's the time that it took. But the album recordings took a month in total.
Okay. What was it like for you to have to travel there during the pandemic?
Oh, it was quite tricky because of the whole pandemic situation. You need to test a lot. Also, because I'm going to Brazil, I had to take some vaccines that I needed to take, because it's a different continent and they require certain vaccines that you don't get usually. And so Corona unrelated, let's say.
Right.
I got tested like countless times. That thing in the nose constantly.
Yeah.
But it's all fine. The flights were sometimes canceled and I had to rebook it, but finally I really made it happen. We really got together, which was a cool time, finally. So it worked out. But I didn't get to do much tourism in Sao Paulo because the situation is just very bad there. Certainly right now it's just horrible, and I knew that it was not a good idea to go out there. And so the time that I spent there, I just really focused on being around my band members and focusing on the album. Maybe another time when I go back, if the pandemic is gone, will be a nice time to look around in the city, but it wasn't really a nice time to do it.
Right. Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about Cobra Spell. You released the EP Love Venom last year, if I'm not mistaken.
In September.
Yeah. Let's talk about that band. As you said, it's completely the other extreme. It's more of a hard rock, glam metal type band. How long did it take to put that band together?
Well, it was very spontaneous too, to make this band. I founded the band together with my boyfriend Sebastian Silva, and it was. We always wanted to do something together. We enjoyed jamming together since we were like in a relationship, because we just love guitar. It's our main passion, and we've played some songs together, jammed together, like Kiss and all these cool bands, and we actually had the idea maybe we can start a project together just for fun. And but we were not sure if it would be a good idea, because from other people I've always heard it's not a good idea to mix up relationship with business, this kind of things, which I always thought, okay, maybe it's true, it can maybe interfere. So I kept it a little bit like, well, maybe it's not too much of a good idea. But then after seeing a concert of Alice Cooper, a friend that I know, actually one of my Patreons, managed to get us in the VIP, and get to meet Alice Cooper himself.
Mhm.
And we were both together, Sebastian and I, there watching the show. My father was there too, so he got to meet Alice Cooper too. And I told him, yeah, we both are musicians too. We love music, and we know that he has a wife for a very long time,
Right.
and the wife is very involved in his
Yep.
career.
Mhm.
So we asked him for advice, and he told us, like, you really should work together in something. And I said, okay, if Alice Cooper says it, then we definitely have to. So
Right.
we thought, okay, now this is the time to actually kickstart Cobra Spell. And we really didn't really take it seriously from the beginning, because we thought, okay, maybe it would be funny to have a name like Voodoo Links, or, we had some very crazy ideas.
Mhm.
So, okay, Cobra Spell, okay. And then we really started getting it seriously, making music together. Sebastian is very good at writing lyrics.
Okay.
So he took the task to write the lyrics of the band. And myself, I'm more like, I'm really into the music. So I compose the songs. So it
Mhm.
was like the perfect combination. And it's nice because, usually you would have the problem that one wants to write more composition and you want to, and then you get a little bit into this fight. But we have like this tasks, and this makes it a lot easier for us. So yeah, we made the AP. It took us like I think a half year to write the EP. We did it quite fast. The recordings took a little bit longer because of the pandemic, and trying to find like session musicians to do it, because we were firstly thinking that this would be a little bit like a session band. We didn't really know that it would be like a real band. So I recorded actually the bass lines on the album, on the EP.
Right.
And the drums were made by a friend of mine who plays drums, Marco Distillator. He's a drummer in a thrash metal band in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how we actually did the EP, and we thought, okay, let's see how it's received. And if it's received well, then we just keep doing this.
Right.
And I'm surprised that it was received well. I didn't know how it's going to be, because people are, I don't know, you never know what's going to happen. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's just fix a lineup and, work on an album. And that's what we're currently, the album is already finished. We are just working on the demos right now, and getting everything like ready, because we cannot really make a band picture yet. We're not able to travel together or anything. So we're waiting until that moment. Yeah.
Where are the rest of the members located?
Yeah, so Sebastian is located in Portland, in America.
Oh, okay.
United States. And our singer is in Turin, Italy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Our drummer is in Lille, France.
Mm-hmm.
Angelina, the bass player, she lives in the Netherlands, very near from where I live. So she comes every week here, and we jam a lot.
Okay.
And yeah, that will be the locations. I'm in the Netherlands.
Right. Wow. So I was saying how
it's an international lineup, even though the drummer sounds like he's far away, but actually it's just 2-hour drive for him. So he's not very far away from us. So it will be just Sebastian and the singer who are far away.
Mm-hmm.
But it works, it's closer. It's actually less difficult than for Crypta, because that's the whole band is all the way in Brazil.
Yeah.
So that's a lot more far away. But it works. It works.
Cool. Essentially you're saying that you're waiting for the pandemic to end to be able to record and do that. So really there's no like set time or set date when you guys would like to have the album out.
No, we are taking it easy. We don't have a label that is like giving us a deadline or anything. So we are like doing it on our own time. We want to finish those demos as good as we can, just so we have like a good idea of how the songs will sound like. Mm-hmm. We want to do it right. We don't want to speed it up too much. There's nothing wrong about speeding the process, but now that we have the time, we're going to definitely take it.
Right.
And when we have that done, then we might see if any labels are interested, or give us a deal that is like interesting to us.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. And if not, then we will not go for it. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And and then we can go further. Our idea is firstly also we want to really, really, really make some band pictures, release a music video if possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all up to Corona, because we cannot really travel to each other right now. So it's like, it's very frustrating, but I'm trying to work forward as much as I can right now.
Could you imagine releasing these songs before being able to get together? I mean, I've interviewed bands where they've told
I definitely won't want it this time.
Okay. Yeah,
I really want to do it properly.
Okay.
The EP was result of actually coronavirus, it's made during the coronavirus too. It's incredible how long it's been going. But I would prefer to actually have the band involved in the whole process instead of just me trying to do it all by myself with session musicians. It's cool to do it, but now that I have the band, actually, like Cobra Spell being an actual band, to have the people come together and rehearse together and have that band feeling.
Yeah, I understand.
And it's also a lot better to actually do it at a studio instead of just really produce it myself. And I would like to have like that kind of level.
That's interesting too, because based on what you've talked about during the interview, you've wanted to always kind of have control of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're saying that you don't need absolute control of things. You just want your voice to be heard within a given situation. So you could easily just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do everything myself, and then whoever wants can join in after. But you'd much rather wait and play with other people as opposed to just have everything just be you.
I like indeed to have like creative control to a certain extent. So for example, in Cobra Spell, I really, really want like the full creative control of the compositions. This is something that from the beginning, I stated this band is going to be the band where I'm going to make the compositions only. With Crypta, for example, is the band where I'm going to democratically do it together with the other band members equally, So Cobra Spell is really the band for me, a safe place where I can do the compositions myself. And that's how it has to stay. So this means also that I'm going to compose the bass lines and I'm going to compose the melody line of the vocals, just because it really fits in the idea that I have in my head and it's the way I wanted it to be. And I told the members, of course, and they know that it works like this. So if in the demos, for example, I'm recording the bass lines, but the bass lines will be recorded by Angelina because she's the bass player and I'm going to let her put her own vibe in it as long as she respects the composition.
Right. Understood. I'm
going totally deep into it, but I have a guitar lesson like in 10 minutes, so I really have
no problem. I'm wrapping things up. So I was just going to ask you, what do you have in store for the rest of the year? What currently do you think, or what would you like to do from here to the end of 2021?
Well, so right now I'm really looking forward to the release of Echoes of the Soul, which is the full length that is coming out for Crypta. And I'm very, very excited about getting that album done from Cobra Spell, going into the studio and actually recording it. Those are my two really biggest things that I'm really looking up to. Of course, I'm extremely excited to play concerts with both bands. I just don't know how realistic it is with the whole situation. It doesn't really look good because festivals are constantly being canceled. The offers are just, we're getting offers, of course, but most of it is just really unrealistic because it just gets over to the next year. And so we are really booking forward for the next year, for 2022.
Right.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that, but that's already the next year. So mostly it's just like release and I also have something that I'm working on with it's still secret, but it's a very big project that I'm gonna join, but I'm not able to talk about it yet.
Okay, cool. Will people be able to find out about that on your Patreon before any other place?
I believe that I don't have an answer for that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. Yeah.
I'm trying to sell people on your Patreon to say, hey, if you sign up for Sonia's Patreon, you'll find out before anybody else.
Well, they already know a detail about it that I already, I cannot say it on here, of course, but
Okay.
something is being made for me, which is for that. So it's like,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Some insights. They get some insights. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Where should people go to? Oh, actually, before I ask you this, when does the Crypta album drop?
It drops on June 11th
Okay.
worldwide. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
Where should people go to keep up with what you have going on?
So as for everything that is going on with me as an artist, they can follow me on every single social media platform, such as YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, on Sonia Anubis, where I'm very active doing anything musical related. And my band's Crypta and Cobra Spell, also on social media and on Spotify, or Apple Music. We're on every major streaming platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. On social media, you have the Dutch flag and you have the Spanish flag.
Yeah, that's true.
What does the Spanish flag represent?
That I'm 50% Spanish.
Okay. What part of Spain?
Barcelona.
Okay, perfect. I was just curious. I am currently outside of a city called Santander, which is 7 hours from Barcelona. So,
oh, that's nice. You speak Spanish?
yes, yeah. My parents are from here, but I was born in the U.S. And
Wow,
then,
yeah, I was wondering because I could hear some Spanish, like in your accent, a
right,
tiny bit, just a tiny bit sometimes. But you
right,
have also a very American accent. So I was
right.
like, does he maybe speak Spanish or?
No, I was born and grew up in New Jersey, but even where I live, for people in Cantabria, because I have a mix between my English accent and how I grew up. A lot of people will always ask me if I'm from Galicia or Asturias, or even I've had people say if I'm Catalan from Barcelona,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with it. It's just my messed up accent from,
Oh,
you know.
I live with that every day. My struggle is that there is no language that I can actually speak fluently, like perfectly fluent, because I lived half of my life in Barcelona,
Okay.
so I can speak Spanish pretty well. Actually,
Mhm.
it's like my native language together with Dutch, which I also speak very fluent. But since I'm living now for so long in the Netherlands, there's always one that is going to be a little bit better
Right.
regarding where I'm living. And now I'm speaking so much English on daily base that now my English is getting better than my native languages. And it's like, oh, and also like I also speak Catalan. So it's kind of my brain dreams in many different languages most of the time and thinks in most different languages. And it gets very confusing at times.
Right. Well, I fumble through two languages, so I can't even imagine what it's like to have four going on in my head. So, in any event, I know you have to go. I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview you, and I'll send you the links once it's posted, and it should be next Friday, but I'll still send you the links and I'll post it on social media and everything else. So,
Sure.
thank you for your time, and everyone check out Crypta and Cobra Spell and everything that Sonia has going on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to the interview. I really enjoyed that. It was like really like conversation. It's
Yeah.
not the question and answer kind of thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's what I try doing. I like to have just a relaxed conversation with a person as music fans and as, just regular people. I think it comes
Right.
out better than just your typical 10 usual questions that you get all the time. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Sonia. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Sonia. Very informative, very cool. I've been following her musically for, since Burning Witches personally. I really think that her playing adds something to that band. And she mentioned it, those melodies and different things that she tended to add is, to me, no disrespect to the band, but it's kind of what's missing. And you look at a lot of historic guitar tandems, there's always one guitarist that adds a certain something to the mix. And I'm not saying that, the two songs that I've heard off of the new Burning Witches album is bad, but it's there's a certain something that's missing, in my opinion. That's just my funky opinion. Doesn't mean you have to agree. This is all subjective. It's all music after all. So that is that. I will be back in technically 4 hours with another edition of Signals from Mars with Chris Aiken of the Classic Metal Show and the Aftershock podcast, which he co-hosts with Matt Harnett, who will also be joining us. We're going to be talking all about the CMSPN, the Classic Metal Show Podcast Network. It should be a fun chat. And I've mentioned this. I mentioned this to Keith from Ghost Cult when I spoke to him, and actually a few different people. Most of the people that I've had on since I started doing the live stream are people that I've wanted to talk to, that I've wanted to reconnect, because I haven't spoken to them in a long time, and because I think that they have something important to add. I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest name. I'm not going to say that anyone else has to be huge or enormous to be important to music. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, sort of grassroots type things that don't need front page coverage all the time. And again, I think these are interesting conversations with these people, and I appreciate speaking to them. So that's what I've been doing so far. I hope you guys enjoyed not only this interview, but any other interview that I've been doing. Remember to go to MarsAttacksRadio.com to find all the social media links and links to YouTube, for example, to watch the replay of this if you didn't get to catch the whole thing. And also remember that on MarsAttacksRadio.com, you can also subscribe to the podcast. This will be turned into an audio podcast. I appreciate all of your support. Appreciate anyone who's watching this live or watching the recorded version. Remember that you can also subscribe to my newsletter right there on MarsAttacksRadio.com. And we also have the Patreon, which I mentioned. For as little as $2, you can join the club, per se, in a troll-free environment where I'm posting anywhere between 2 to 6 videos a day where people are commenting on the songs, and whatever songs people like are going to our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. That is it. Thank you again. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in a few hours. See ya.